These are some real things. This is what's called golden rice. The yellow rice on your right is rice that's been genetically engineered to have beta-carotene in it, which is something that is in carrots, and so that's why it's got that orange color. And it was developed in order to provide that for people who have a deficiency in that. So this rice was developed. It's kind of controversial as to whether, how much this is really helping. It's just one thing that would be deficient. It doesn't replace a balanced diet, and so it's kind of controversial. The little glowing pig snouts on the bottom, those are real. These are little glow-in-the-dark pigs, and they look slightly green, hooves and snouts in regular light, but when you put them under ultraviolet light, these pigs glow green. And the reason they were made was also for, it was to mark the presence of certain proteins. So these were developed supposedly for scientific research, to be able to track the different proteins that are being produced in these pigs. And the little goats are really interesting. This is a new thing that was developed. These goats produce spider silk in their milk. And so these are the first two little baby goats that produce spider silk in their milk. And the idea is that spider silk is one of the strongest substances on the planet. And so it's been very hard to get spiders to cooperate to make enough silk to produce the kinds of things that they want to use. They call it biosteel. And so what they're hoping to do is isolate this protein from the milk of these goats in order to produce fabrics. You can use them as bulletproof vest material, but also to replace tendons and ligaments in humans and animals that have been damaged. So they actually have been able to produce this. Whether what they produce with it is still in development. So that is one weird one that is true. So what are we doing messing around with genetics of organisms here? Well, we've been doing a form of it for a long time. This is representing Gregor Mendel's genetic experiments from way back in 1864. And before that, we've been modifying our food crops, our animals, from the beginning of history. Only we were doing it by breeding. And so what we do is, with plants, you take the pollen from plants that have a desirable trait. Let's say they're taller or they produce more peas. And so you then pollinate, you use two plants that have tall plants or more peas, and you cross those. And so you successively cross them until you end up with an organism that it has the genetics that you want. At the time, they didn't even know that there were genes or DNA, but this is what was being done. And that's how you end up with all the different breeds of dogs. Big ones, small ones, curly ones, flat ones, whatever. But you also end up with a lot of problems because, as you know, some breeds of dogs have hip dysplasia, or they go blind, or they have other things. Because when you breed for a particular trait, that's not all you get. You get other stuff. And so now we've taken it to a higher level by actually knowing what the genes are, putting those in there, and making things do things the way we want them to do them, which can be a good or a bad thing. Like I said, I want to be unbiased, but some of the things I'm going to tell you, like I tell my students sometimes, you wish you could go back and go, erase, erase, erase. I don't want to know. So if you don't want to have any new things to worry about, then you probably should leave just about now, or in a couple minutes.